Welcome to Live with Miami's Community News, South Florida's #1 source for local stories. I'm Michael Miller, bringing people together and sharing the voices, events, and connections that shape our community. Hey, thanks for joining us. We have two great people here today. Ernie Gomez with the Cutler Bay Business Association and John Eubanks with the Palmetto Bay Business Association. Thanks for being here. In the geographic part of this, you have Chambers South, then you have Pinecrest Business Association, Palmetto Bay, and Cutler Bay. Right. So let's start on the deepest south, not quite, but for us up north. Cutler Bay is deep south. So let's look at some of the things that the Cutler Bay Business Association has been doing recently, and let's look at 2026 about what's been going to go on there.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all our viewers, and Miami Community Newspaper, and of course you, Michael Miller, for the opportunity for always having us here. And I want to thank also our guest here for joining us today. Basically, CBBA is ramping up. We have a new board of directors. Listed already in our website. We've updated our website where you could visit us at cutlerbaybiz.com, and in there you'll see the new board of directors. Each individual were basically hand chosen and picked to serve our community. The purpose and reason why we are serving our community and the business community is to enhance their businesses, right? At somehow and some point of our lives, we either manage a business, operate a business. So in order to take this opportunity and this venture, right, with associations, we have to guide our customers, right, our members in the right direction so that their businesses can be enhanced and grow.
And Ernie, you're in the air conditioning business.
Yes.
You provide to dealers and to subcontractors air conditioning and
parts and equipment.
Yes,
that's correct.
Do we say heaters in there?
Yeah, heating we do very little, but maybe that once or twice a year.
That will be part of the industry here.
One of the reasons, if you turn on the air conditioner in your house, I think we're going to blow out every circuit breaker.
Yes.
It's like, what are you trying to do to us?
Well, we're in that season, right, of turning on that heater.
Yes. So John, tell us about the Palmetto Bay Business Association.
Okay, great. Well, we are also, we have some new board members. I'm actually a new chair of the board, president of the association, and we meet monthly, except for July and December. We meet the first Thursday of the month. In January, it's actually going to be the second Thursday of the month because the first Thursday is on New Year's Day. So our next meeting is January 8th. We're a group of small businesses and nonprofits. We try to get out and be involved in the community as much as possible. We have different mixers and things to get together. We just had a holiday party last week. Incidentally, our organization was actually founded by Grant. Grant was a big part in both our organization as well as the Pinecrest organization on getting it started. And so I am new to the position, and so I'm still kind of learning my way. And we have close to 100 members now, and just looking to grow and do more in the community.
So you're in the education business.
Yes.
You're the director at the Palmetto Bay Academy.
Yes.
And that's smaller classes. We're just talking about sometimes we just need, somebody to hold your hand for a moment and to reinvigorate you and instill confidence. One of the things that when we survey people and we ask them, why do you want to join a business club, right? So we get certain responses, but you've been around long enough to know when people go and they show up all the time, why is it they go and stay?
I think, well, for one thing, just to get connection with other businesses. I mean, sometimes, like I say, for me personally, with our membership, we aren't doing it as much to get direct clientele from it, although that is certainly something that happens. I do business with a lot of people from our organization, including community newspapers and many others. But I think even for someone like me, it's just about it's nice to talk to other small business owners, find out what they're going through, what they're doing. I have gotten tips about different things with insurance and accounting and different things just from our members that we have. But, and like for us, we look for opportunities for our students to do internships and things like that. So that's really our big reason for being there. But also it's just about keeping your name out there in the community.
Yep. And Ernie, there's an old saying that sometimes trauma bonds us. But we also know that joy and happiness bonds us together. Sure. So when you go to a meeting and you're there and you see a familiar face, doesn't matter if it's 10 people or 20 or 100, you go, here's a familiar face. And that makes us feel good.
Right.
And then those endorphins, that dopamine's there, and I ran into so-and-so, wasn't it wonderful?
Right.
I'm not sure what we talked about today, but it was a good feeling.
Right.
So tell us about, there was a meeting recently, a couple 6 months ago at Mercedes-Benz.
Yes.
Tell us about that. And you're also a DJ.
Yes.
Does your wife know?
Yes.
For sure.
That's
You
my
don't like
other
sneak
life.
out-
That's
you-
my other life.
All right. You don't sneak out like
my
a Saturday
HVAC
afternoon.
contractors don't know I'm a DJ.
That's
They're
it.
like two different worlds.
Words out now, Ernie.
But
I'm
yes,
sorry.
Michael Miller, you put it out. But anyway,
outed you.
yeah, I'm a professional DJ as a hobby now. And what I do with the music is help the environment when we're meeting, right? The music, the background music, the microphones, be able to, have good sound system, be able to communicate. So yeah, sometimes when we have our meetings, we provide the sound system and the microphones.
We just
for those
had
events.
Dr. Joy, I forgot her last name. She teaches music to 1,400 kids through the Dade County school system.
Yes.
And they have classes all over. And we know that music brings joy to so many.
Sure.
And we know
Sure.
that,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
it accesses different part of your brain and you
Exactly.
feel good. And people
Yeah,
that
so
some
that's-
people are non-communicative,
Yes, yes.
when they go to sing, all right, they feel really good. And even people with strokes, all right, we see that they're able to communicate because that song is there.
Music sets the tone.
Oh, it does.
It invites you to buy. It invites you to do business. It invites if you have the right sound, the right equipment, the right music, right, at the right venue. But with CBBA, basically what I learned in most recent networking events is that I found, like you're saying, you go to events and you meet and greet all these people, which they're business owners. I happened to be at a plumbing supply, Coral Gables Plumbing, celebrated their 100-year anniversary, and I was there. I was speaking to one of his sons, and I was explaining to him about my HVAC business, right? And he listened to me. I said, "Oh, can we meet sometime next year and talk about this?" Not the right moment, but I would like to talk to you because they're into plumbing, but they just happen to open up an HVAC division. So it's being at the right time at the right
Say that
place.
again.
They're in the plumbing business, but they're going to be opening in the future
Oh, no
an
kidding. Good for them.
HVAC division, right? They've got their licensing and all that. But the idea was that, like you said, somebody else walked in to the networking event that happened to be a mechanical engineer that works with us. He's the one that represents the plumbing company, and all of a sudden he endorsed us. So that is priceless.
Yes.
It's being out and about.
Yes.
It's not only going out and say, "Oh, I met this guy." No, at the moment that the engineer, Mr. George Vargas, that we deal with him, deals with the plumbing company. You deal with George? Well, guess what? You're just endorsed.
Yes.
And it was a whole different conversation. There was now some type of...
It's elevated.
Elevated.
So,
Absolutely.
John, what's it like being in the education? I know we call it education, but it's also a whole lot more than that.
Right.
With it's a small classes, small school,
school.
a lot of attention to each of them. What's it like for you when you recognize that some of these students are really making advances?
I mean, that's why we do it, is to try to add value. I love to joke around. I'm always joking with the kids. I actually had a student ask me the other day, and it's like, because I'd made a joke about something about these teens, and he's like, "Well, you chose to be here." And I stopped and thought about it. He was actually right. Of everybody in the room, I was the one that chose to be there because I just like to be around them. I like to think it keeps me feeling young, despite the bald and what's left being gray. I like to think it makes me feel young. But no, that's what's great is whenever you can see students have these aha moments, and to not expect. To not set yourself up to expect that to happen every day, and every student's not going to love being at school every day, and some students are not ever going to let you know that they enjoy doing what they're doing, but just seeing them make the progress, it it really does feel
And
good.
how did you get into that arena?
Well, actually, I was a career changer. I was in the business and advertising world actually before, and my wife was a teacher in Texas, and I had a lot of interest. And through work experiences, I was able to get an emergency certification in Texas to be a middle school science teacher. And so at 35, I went into education, and then got a couple of master's degrees in education after that, and actually got kind of a proper master's in science education. And then we taught for 5 years in Asia. We went to China for 3 years and Indonesia for 2. Wow. And while we were there, one of our friends we worked with, his stepmother was the founder of our school, and so she recruited us to come to Miami so she could retire. So that's kind of our story of how we got here a little over 10 years ago.
What caused you to go to China?
Maggie, which is my wife, Maggie and I, at that time we didn't have any children, and we were really interested in travel. And as public school teachers in Texas, our best chance to travel was to be international educators. So we went to a job fair and did that. And then 8 years ago, after moving here, 8 years ago, we do have a family now. We actually adopted 3 children, and so we do have a family now.
Wow.
But while we didn't have the children, we got a chance to travel and see quite a bit of Asia.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
Yes, absolutely.
The rest of it's sort of boring as compared to that.
Yeah, no, this is
So-
very good. What age group are your students?
They're middle school and high school.
Middle school and high school.
We do have some as young as 5th grade, but mostly middle school and high school. We're in the process of possibly opening an elementary school. We haven't sourced a location for that for sure yet, but something that we're working toward. But it's mostly middle school and high school, which is what usually small private schools are for the younger students. But we're pretty much one of the we really are the original non-traditional school.
How many
in
students
Miami.
do you have?
We max out on campus at around 40.
40 students.
Yeah, so really small.
campus.
So there are lots of changes are going on with our schools, their schooling in Miami-Dade County, perhaps
Sure.
across the country. We know that the school board is getting right-sized because so many students have left the public school system.
Right.
And in our neighborhood down there, I understand at Howard Drive Elementary, where I went to school a few years ago, half is going to be public school and the other half is going to be a charter school
Charter schools.
in the same building. It's sort of like when you go and it's a jewelry center. They got all the little different jewelers in there,
Sure.
and each having their own angle. We know that Sunset High has 400 or 500 students, maybe 700. Killian, lots of empty classrooms, but the education system is completely changed. And now with Miami getting a lot of money brought down here, the private schools are getting fuller and fuller and fuller. Has that impacted your business yet?
I would say one thing during COVID, a lot of people's eyes were opened up that things could be done differently, because during COVID we were forced to do things differently. It was kind of an easy transition for us to have students working distance because our system was so individualized and tailor-made for each student. And so, but now, since then there's been a lot of we often say we were the original micro school before that was even a term, but there are a lot more options out there than there were. And it's like that's a good thing, because we can only help about 40 at a time, and there are probably thousands of students in Miami-Dade that could use something different than the traditional system.
So
Wow.
and you teach students,
Yes.
and when they can go there, they can learn about constructions, and specifically parts that you're interested in is also they can get a certificate
Yes.
in repairing and installing air conditioners.
Yes.
How long is that program?
We have a boot camp program on weekends. They can complete it with about 8 to 12 weekends. And this is for the individual that wants to get hands-on training and needs a job within weeks, right? So we do the EPA certification. I do a welding class and a heat pump class. But then we have a professional setting, classroom, where it takes about 2 years. Your family's from the industry, so that being said, it is a long career because there's a lot of technology and instruments to learn, and temperature
Right.
And how
formulas to learn.
How did you learn
so,
the air conditioning business?
Well, I'm a product of the school. I went to vocational school, and out of that, I decided to mentor other young people and be able to show them that there's a path, right? Not only college and universities, and we don't have to be attorneys. We could also do hands-on, because I think AI is going to be taking over if we don't have more plumbers and more electricians.
But AI is not going to change that compressor, is it?
That's right. That's what I'm trying to say.
So when we look at the changes in job opportunities,
Yeah.
in the old days, you'd go to work at somebody's box, whether it's a manufacturing plant or an office building, you would go in there and you do your job. Now, I think social media has pushed that out. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. You could create your own small business or large business on your phone. We see that every day.
Yes.
And then we see that YouTubers are building their own studios.
I create now my own flyers
Yes.
on ChatGPT. I just have to buy that membership, because they always find a way to get you 5 or more times to be able to charge you, because they keep asking you, do you want this in this color,
Did
that color?
did I sign up for that thing?
Yeah.
How many times are going to pay that $20?
No, I've never paid it. So they played with me last night. I was up, and the 5th try, they lock you out. So, but yeah, AI does now your own flyers. You just put out the ideas.
I took an AI class, it was FIU class. Starting off, I was already lost.
Right.
And I said, I'm not here to get a certificate. I just want to find one thing out of this whole thing. And here's what I learned.
What?
This is what I say now, chat. What would the top 1% of experts in this field say about the work that we just did? This is a good thing. This is not a good thing. What would they say we need to do to improve it? Would you like me to do that? If you say yes too often, you're going to get lost down that rabbit hole.
Right.
So I've learned to do that every time. Now it asks me, do you want to know what the 1% would say? So out of the whole thing, that's what I learned. Also realized that the companies that would charge you for SEO work, you don't need them anymore.
Right.
Because it comes in a little box, your phone or your computer.
Yeah.
Certainly that's going to change so many things. And when we interviewed one of the professors that put together the AI program in Miami-Dade, I said, listen, Doc, I said, if I'm writing about my business and I write 10% of it, I get help with AI or with chat, can I put my name on it? He said, well, that's an ethical question. I said, how about 30%? Well, that's a good question. I said, so when the president does his speech, we know he didn't write it. When people say that they wrote a book, we know they did not write the book. That was just the idea, and it goes through 20 hands, and it's
True.
different. Then a year later, which was a year ago, I asked another professor. He said, it's sort of changing, Michael. And so then I asked the third professor, who's in one local university, who put together the program. He says, we're almost at the point, if you're the prompter, it's your work, right? Mm-hmm. And some people think you should take it like it's all gospel. It's not. I can tell you that in the news industry, a paper out of New York came up with a list of 15 must-read books. 10 of them never existed. And they never checked on it.
Oh, wow.
So always check on it and start with the stuff that you know, right? Mm-hmm. And then you learn how to talk with your assistant. And that's really what it is.
Sure.
In the old days, you'd hear our research is going to go look up the stuff. Now we got, whatever you want to call it, in 15 seconds does the work. We use that frequently if I want to do a short recap and study somebody. And I don't have to go look because it puts it all together. And you better make sure you got the right person in the right city, because they're going to put in, like down here in Miami, South Florida, put in your name. God only knows how many people are going to come up.
Well, one thing I can tell you is AI hasn't been through our school. And if you were to ask AI about HVAC questions, they don't give you the right answer.
Oh, no.
And we've tested it. So it's not 100% accurate as well. I've had students wanting to do a job or a project, and they ask AI if this table will measure to fit in a certain location. And AI was not designed for that.
Right.
You understand? You have to actually go there, measure it,
Right.
and physically do the work.
I went to a small private school in North End, and I was talking to people, and so they were teaching their second, third, and fourth graders to go to AI, do a project, and import images that you're going to get and put it into your paperwork that you're going to submit. So they're really teaching people how to use that.
Right.
So
It is a tool.
yes,
It's a tool that you have to
tool.
use properly.
yes. So what do you think in the next couple of years, how it's going to impact your field?
Well, I have to say, is working with high school students, it's already starting to impact somewhat.
Wow.
And because it certainly sounds like a shortcut, or it sounds like, and maybe it is a shortcut, and maybe that's okay, but it sounds like a replacement for creativity and a replacement for effort. And so that's where we get into problems. And so we're still learning, as most schools are. We're still learning how to incorporate it, because you have to be very careful, because, a student could just give a prompt and could just say, write a 1,000-word paper about this, and something will get produced. Now, it will be obvious that it wasn't their work, but still, it's there's not an easy answer for that. I wish I had a better answer. We're still learning on how to use it as faculty, and also how to help our students.
Since we deal with adult students, during class we've had students that attend our classes with laptops and tablets to sit in class. And while we're teaching, they're looking and they're asking questions on the computer to verify if what we're saying is correct or not. And they've even said and questioned things that is actually wrong on the internet, and we've addressed
and when
it
we
properly.
look at the impact,
So it's kind of a two-way. It's tough.
There's some people that are young enough that that the computers and calculators
rely on it.
at some point didn't exist, and you do it by hand.
Right.
So then they invented an adding machine, if you will. So did we think back then they were cheating? Well, I don't know. All right. I used to use a map, but most of the stuff I would use it's a sense of awareness of the directions, and I could get into the area and find my way.
Well,
right?
my math teacher told me in college that if I knew how to use a calculator, that means I knew math. So yes, I could use a calculator, because if I didn't know how to use the calculator, I didn't know math. So that's the way to figure out formulas, whatever it may be.
Right.
You need to use the instrument, and in real life, we need a calculator.
So what do you do, John, when you have a student, he was bright enough to figure out, hey, I can go over, I can get my assistant to write it, right? And you look at it and you go, we know you didn't write this. There's like 5-syllable words in there, and this is not your style. This is not your tone. This is not you. What's that conversation sound like?
Well, certainly the first time that it happens, it is just a conversation, because it's very tempting to not put in full effort. And so we just have a conversation, and I do my very best to explain why. I was always one of those teens that, because I said so, was tough for me. Now, I was also raised in a generation, I got a lot of because I told you so, but internally I was thinking, I don't like that. So I try not to do that. So I do try to show our students, we want to help you learn how to write properly, so that you can, at your next stage, whether that be university or whether that be in the workforce, whatever, that you can communicate. And so if you give away all of that power to the technology, then you haven't learned anything. So that's where we try.
And obviously you skip a whole bunch of steps, right, to be able to get it done. But we understand the process of taking college algebra. It's not for the algebra. It's to exercise your brain.
Absolutely.
So you can figure out all that other stuff that should be going on. It's interesting. I was looking at the number of female architects compared to male. Little tiny, right?
Is.
And the thinking is different. And when the architects years ago, they had the CAD program, I don't know what it stands for, they can put together some of these buildings. But if you listen to the top guys in the arena, all that's going to change. But the effort inside, staying awake at 2 a.m. and writing that paper because you at the last minute, that builds character.
Yes.
And a lot of it.
I used to write my research papers, and the teacher used to check for plagiarism, remember?
Oh, sure.
And they used to go online and check and see
We had a
who
young
wrote
man
it or didn't write it.
that worked here years ago, and he wrote the story. And I go, if you wrote this story, you should go to ESPN today, all right? You need to do that. You're in the wrong arena, all right? I put it into the Ghostbuster thing. It was like 78% probability, all right? And you go, I said, you missed out on a whole bunch of stuff. When I asked you if you wrote it, you didn't say that. You didn't write it, all right? Because you don't speak like that. That's not your terminology. You only know a little bit about this arena. And I said, so to me, it didn't matter. But to you, that you try to fool me, all right, that should matter to you, because your next boss is not going to be so nice, especially if you got it built on stuff that you didn't do.
Right.
So anyway, next couple of years, it should be very interesting
It will be.
to see how that happens.
How this
We had a 3-month-old
develops.
granddaughter now, and I'm thinking, what's going to happen in the next 10 years that she'll be doing that we have no idea what that's about?
It's very likely that and I didn't come up with this statement, so I want to say that. I was just talking about plagiarism, but it's been said, and it's very true, that the job that our grandchildren have, those jobs probably haven't been invented yet.
No.
We probably don't even have words for what those jobs are.
Right.
Just because things change that fast.
Yes. In the old days, which wasn't too many years, you could go in the same industry. For 40 years, the newspaper industry did not change.
Mm-hmm.
And you could always be 5 years behind, always. You can't be 5 months behind now because you're just going to be left behind with all the new stuff that's out there. And Ernie, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Michael.
Again, people can reach you at Cutler Bay Business Association.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And John, thank you, representing the Palmetto Bay Business Association. They can find you on the website, or they can go to your
Yes.
school. And that's Palmetto Bay Academy.
It's PalmettoBayAcademy.com and PBBA online for the Business Association.
And by the way, I want to add that the groups of business people that we were involved with 10 and 15, 20 years ago, is groups of us that said, let's help people come together. And the simplest way, by the way, with one of what we did is we used to do luncheons. And then after about 4 months, we said, I said, I don't want to pay the $600 for the food anymore. Let's go get a charter from some business association. I said, okay, folks, you're on. We're not going to be on the board. You're all communicating here. You all got it. Here it is. And we appreciate you bringing up Belgrade. Again, it was a team effort, and we're very humble about that. And we're delighted that it's down in the South End Chamber South, Pinecrest Business Association, Palmetto Bay, Cutler Bay, and South Day Chamber, way south. And Carlos Ribeiro from Greater Kendall. Thank you, Carlos, for all your help. Doral Chamber, we've worked closely with them, and they have a bunch on the other side.
Yes. Absolutely.
Merry Christmas to you guys.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you and your
Holidays.
family.
And good health to everybody.
Yes.
Thanks.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, let's look right in the camera over here. And, folks, my brother Grant and I subscribe to the Disney rule, which is when you hug someone, don't stop until they do. Happy holidays, and thank you for joining us. Bye now.
Thank you.